The fire was almost gone. Only a few orange flames remained between the blackened stones. Beyond their light, the forest had disappeared into darkness. The hunters were sleeping close together beneath animal skins. Their stone tools lay within reach. Every sound outside the camp mattered. A breaking branch could mean deer moving through the trees. It could also mean a bear, a stranger, or something worse. Then 2 eyes appeared beyond the firelight. A wolf stood between the trees. It did not rush forward. It did not growl. It simply watched. One of the humans slowly reached for a spear. The wolf stepped backwards, but it did not run. The smell of cooked meat had brought it close. Bones and scraps lay near the edge of the camp. For several moments, the 2 hunters studied one another. One stood beside the fire. The other waited in darkness. Neither could have understood that this quiet meeting might become one of the most important relationships in human history. The first dog probably did not enter a camp wearing a rope around its neck. Ancient humans did not suddenly decide to capture a wolf and create a new animal. The change was slower, more dangerous, and far more mysterious. It may have begun with a simple decision. Do not kill the wolf that keeps its distance. Before we go further, subscribe to the channel for more calm documentary stories about ancient humans, survival, and the forgotten world they lived in. Dogs were domesticated from gray wolves toward the end of the last ice age. They became the first animals known to enter a domestic relationship with humans, long before people raised livestock or planted crops. Yet scientists still do not know exactly where the process began, which human community started it, or whether it happened only once. The world at that time was cold and unstable. Vast grasslands stretched across parts of Eurasia. Herds of reindeer, horses, bison, and other large animals moved across the land. Human hunting groups followed them. Wolves followed them too. Humans and wolves were very different animals, but they lived in surprisingly similar ways. Both depended on cooperation. Both hunted in groups. Both protected their young. Both understood patience, danger, and the value of working together. They were also competitors. A wolf pack could reach an animal before human hunters arrived. Wolves could steal meat from a kill. Humans could drive wolves away from carcasses and destroy their dens. Each side had good reasons to fear the other. But fear does not always prevent contact. Sometimes it creates distance. And at the edge of that distance, something new can begin. Recent genetic research has confirmed that dogs were already living across distant parts of Western Eurasia during the late Ice Age. A dog found at Panarba in present-day Turkey lived about 15,800 years ago. Another from Gough's Cave in Britain lived roughly 14,300 years ago. Their presence so far apart suggests that the relationship had begun earlier and had already spread between human communities. By then, the wolf beside the fire was no longer completely wild. But the long road toward that moment probably began with wolves that were still watching from the trees. Most wolves would have avoided a human camp. The smell of smoke, unfamiliar voices, and moving shadows would have warned them to keep away. Any wolf that approached too aggressively risked being struck with a spear or chased into the darkness. But wolves are not all identical. Some are more cautious, some are more curious, some are more willing to search for food near danger. The wolves most comfortable near people may have discovered an unusual source of food. After a successful hunt, a human camp produced bones, skin, organs, and scraps that people did not always use. During difficult seasons, even small pieces of food could mean survival. A wolf that remained calm might be allowed to feed after the humans moved away. A wolf that threatened a child would probably be killed. Without planning it, humans may have begun separating wolves by behavior. The most aggressive animals stayed away or died. The calmer animals remained close enough to eat. Those animals survived more easily and raised young near the same camps. over many generations. The wolves living around humans may have become different from those living entirely in the wild. This idea is often called the camp scavenging, or commensal theory. However, it is not the only possibility. Some researchers argue that scavenging alone may not fully explain dog domestication. Ancient humans may also have taken young wolf pups from dens, raised them inside camps, or deliberately formed partnerships with animals useful for hunting. The earliest stage remains debated because it left almost no clear archaeological record. The process may have included all these things: a hungry wolf following a camp, a child feeding scraps to a young animal, a hunter allowing a familiar wolf to remain near the fire. None of these moments would create a dog immediately, but repeated across centuries, they could change an entire population. The wolves also had something to offer. Their hearing was stronger than human hearing. Their sense of smell could detect animals hidden beyond sight. At night, a wolf resting near the camp might become alert before any human noticed danger. A low growl in the darkness could warn that something was moving nearby. At first, this may have been accidental. The wolf was protecting itself, not the people. But the humans beside it benefited from the warning. Later, familiar wolves may have followed hunters away from camp. They could detect wounded prey, find tracks, or help surround an animal. We cannot know exactly when this began, but once humans recognized the value of a cooperative wolf, the animal was no longer merely a visitor. It was becoming part of the group. The important point is that dogs did not descend from the wolves living beside modern roads and forests today. Genetic studies suggest that dogs came from ancient wolf populations whose exact identity has not yet been found, and which may no longer exist. Dogs are generally closer to ancient Eastern Eurasian wolves, while some dog populations also carry ancestry related to wolves from Southwest Asia. The story may therefore involve more than one ancient wolf population, later mixed together. This makes the beginning even harder to locate. The first partnership may have formed somewhere in northern or eastern Eurasia. It may have involved several human groups. Later dogs may have mixed with other wolves as people moved across the landscape. But the first great change was probably not in the shape of the animal's skull or body. It was in its behavior. A wild wolf saw humans and moved away. The ancestor of the dog saw humans and stayed. The young animals born near human camps entered a different world from their wild relatives. They heard human voices before they were old enough to hunt. They smelled smoke, cooked food, animal skins, and stone dust. They watched children moving around the shelter. They learned which gestures meant danger and which meant food. A pup raised among humans would not see the camp in the same way as an adult wolf arriving from the forest. The camp was not simply a place to steal from. It was home. Humans may not have understood breeding or inheritance, but they understood behavior. A calm animal was easier to tolerate. An animal that followed hunters was more useful. An animal that attacked people could not remain. The friendliest and most cooperative animals were more likely to receive food, protection, and opportunities to reproduce near humans. Generation after generation, that pressure changed them. Their fear became weaker. Their attention turned toward human faces and hands. Their ability to understand people grew stronger. Modern research comparing dog and wolf puppies suggests that dogs have an unusually strong natural ability to respond to human social signals. Even at a young age, dog puppies are more likely than wolf puppies to approach people, make eye contact, and understand gestures such as pointing. This ability appears to be one of the deep behavioral results of domestication. Ancient hunters did not know that they were changing the minds of wolves. They only knew that certain animals listened. A hunter moving through long grass could signal without making a loud sound. A familiar animal might look toward the movement of his hand. It might follow his direction, circle around prey, or wait rather than attacking too early. This kind of cooperation could provide an advantage during dangerous hunts. A wolf could run faster than a human and smell prey from a great distance. A human could plan, use weapons, and understand the wider landscape. Together, they could do things that neither species could do as effectively alone. The partnership may also have changed the camp itself. A familiar animal could remain near children while adults gathered wood. It could help discourage predators or unfamiliar people. During freezing nights, its body offered warmth. When food was scarce, however, keeping such an animal alive also created a burden. Ancient humans had to feed another mouth. That means the relationship must eventually have offered something important enough to justify the cost. Not every early dog needed to be a skilled hunter. Some may have survived because they were watchful. Others may have been tolerated because people had become emotionally attached to them. Slowly, their bodies began to show the effects of this new life. Their skulls, jaws, teeth, body size, ears, coats, and reproductive patterns gradually changed. These changes did not appear together, and early dogs probably still looked far more wolf-like than most dogs today. There were no modern breeds, no tiny companion dogs, no animals created for appearance alone. The earliest dogs were probably strong, alert, and capable of surviving beside mobile hunter-gatherers. And they traveled. Genetic evidence shows that closely related Ice Age dogs appeared among different human populations across Anatolia and Europe. Their spread was probably connected to human movement, exchange, and contact. Dogs were not simply appearing beside people by accident. Humans were bringing them along. That detail changes the story. A wild scavenger follows a camp because food is available. A companion leaves with the camp when the people move. When ancient families crossed rivers, climbed mountain passes, and followed migrating animals, dogs went with them. They entered new forests, new hunting grounds, and new human communities. The wolf had crossed a boundary no other animal had crossed before. It had entered human society. Thousands of years after the first cautious wolves approached human camps, a young dog became seriously ill. It lived in Europe roughly 14,200 years ago, near the end of the Ice Age. Today, its remains are known as the Bonn Oberkassel dog. The animal was only about 7 months old when it died. Examination of its teeth and bones suggests that it suffered several severe periods of illness, probably caused by canine distemper. The disease would have left it weak and unable to care for itself. It may have struggled to eat, drink, move, or remain warm. A wild animal in that condition would probably not have survived for long. Yet this young dog survived through repeated illness. Someone appears to have cared for it. The humans may have brought it water. They may have fed it by hand, cleaned it, protected it, and kept it warm. During that period, it could not have helped them hunt. It could not have guarded the camp effectively. It offered little practical value. Still, they did not abandon it. When the dog eventually died, it was buried with 2 human adults and grave goods. Researchers have argued that its survival probably required prolonged human assistance and that the burial reflects a relationship extending beyond simple usefulness. The word pet belongs to a much later world, but the feeling behind it may already have existed. This animal was not simply a hunting tool. It was not only an alarm beside the fire. It had become a creature worth caring for when it could give nothing in return. That may be the most important stage in the entire story. Domestication changed the wolf's behavior and body. But living with animals also changed humans. People learned to communicate with another species, share food with it, protect it, and include it inside the social world of the camp. The relationship became emotional. A dog could recognize a familiar person returning from a hunt. A child could grow up beside the same animal. Families could mourn when it disappeared or died. And so we return to the night beside the dying fire. The wolf still stands between the trees. The human still holds the spear. Neither side understands what is beginning. Perhaps the human throws a bone beyond the flames. The wolf waits until the camp becomes quiet, then moves forward and takes it. The following night, it returns. Then it returns again. Months pass. The wolf learns the voices of the people. The humans learn the meaning of its growls. Its pups are born closer to the camp. One of them accepts food from a human hand. There was no single moment when wolves became dogs. There was no first owner, no first collar, and no ancient command that suddenly turned a predator into a companion. There were only thousands of small choices. A wolf chose not to attack. A human chose not to throw a spear. One species moved closer, the other allowed it to stay. And somewhere in the darkness of the Ice Age, the most feared animal beyond the fire became the first animal welcomed beside it. That ancient decision still follows us today. Every dog sleeping safely inside a human home carries the distant memory of a wolf that once waited at the edge of the light. Subscribe to the channel for more documentary stories about ancient humans, survival, and the forgotten choices that shaped the modern world.